If you guys have ever owned a car with air suspension and you wake up one day and the car is looking like this, then this video might help you. My name is Aryeldi, a previous Mercedes-Benz dealer technician, and this one is my 2000 Mercedes-Benz S500 with air suspension. And I got an issue with the rear. The rear goes down, the front is good. Because only the rear is down, we want to see first if the air compressor is working. And how we do that is you either turn the car on, or if you have a scan tool, you can, actuate the compressor with the scan tool. But in this instance, I turn the car on. If the car goes up, I know my air compressor is working. If the car does not go up, then we have to check the air compressor as a possible issue, whether it's with the wires or not, or the actual air compressor itself. But in this instance, I can turn my car on and the car will go up. So I just turned my car on and we're gonna wait to see if it goes up. There you go. Because the car does go up, I know my air compressor is working. We can rule that out. That means the wires for the air compressor are good, and also that the actual air compressor is working properly. So what we have to chase is a component called a valve block for leaks, or we have to test the actual suspension in the rear for leaks. It's very important to know that you may have only one of the struts that is leaking, but it may seem like both of the rears are leaking, and you have to be careful of that. You got to pay attention if one side is slightly lower than the other or slightly higher than the other. Then you could very well have a leak on both sides, or just one side making it seem like the other side is also leaking. So let's put the car up on, you don't want to jack the car up, you want to put it up on ramps so we can get down there and spray it with soapy water. Like I mentioned, we want to have the car up on ramps instead of jacks. The reason why is because the jack will take all of the pressure off of the suspension, and it's harder to see a leak, especially if it's a slow leak, because it has no weight on it. With the ramps, the weight is still on the car, and we can diagnose it for the leaks. So first things first, for this car at least, if you have a different car, this information still pertains to you. Is just that the way where everything is may be a little bit different for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is check inside the car on top of the suspension, because the air lines are on there. So that's going to be my first check. For my vehicle, where the airline is right under this cover here. So we'll pop that off. And if you have a 220, it's going to be in the same location. Some other cars, you may actually get to the line from the outside. So I have one line here, and if you come over to the other side, we have another one, and there's the line over there. So let's get some soapy water and let's spray that area. Let's put some rags down so that we don't get the vehicle all dirty. Because we just want access to that line. It's gonna look something like that. We'll take the water and we want to inspect that. Now you will have to be patient with this part, because if it's a slow leak, it may take longer for you to see it. I think we can safely assume that there is no leak on that side. So let's go to this side, or no fast leak at least. So this car loses air in about a day. So overnight the car will go to the ground, and it's only the rear. Okay, so we got this covered up. Let's spray this side. Let's move these out of the way. And this is about the same thing. I don't see a leak on this side. No fast leak at least. So we're just gonna leave that like that. We're gonna come back to that later. So far, I don't see anything obvious. So what we're gonna do is actually go underneath the car. Leave everything up top open. And if your car, if the airline is from underneath, then you would have to start from underneath. A lot of cars where the bag is separate from the actual shock absorber. Some cars are like that. I know for Mercedes GLs and some BMWs, and probably many other cars like Range Rovers possibly are like that also. I just know Mercedes mostly. Those ones, you know, you have to go from underneath because the airline is from underneath. But for this car, the airline is from up top, from inside the car. So let's get underneath the car, get the soapy water, and we're going to start spraying at the bottom here. We sprayed the rear, but we have a problem with these. So some cars are going to be different. Like I said, the ones that are going to be separate suspension and the bag, those will be a bit easier to diagnose. So these ones, if you look up there, it's not very clear because it has that dust boot over it, so it's not very clear to see if it's leaking or not. We may have to cut that dust boot a little bit, but before we do that, there's another test that we can do. So let's move on. And here, this is the other side. Also not very clear if it's leaking or not. So what do we do next? Before I cut the dust boot, I want to go to the valve block and spray the valve block for leaks. Each car may be a little bit different, but I know for my vehicle, the valve block is right next to the air compressor in this right front over here. So we're gonna turn the wheel all the way, move the fender liner out of the way, and spray down the valve block. With the wheel turned, we can now take those clips off. There's one clip there, there's a 10mm there, and we'll have some from underneath here also. We got to take those off. They should be 8mm from down there. With that out of the way, that's the compressor right there, and right above it is the valve block. That's what we want to spray next. After spraying the valve block, we can see where one of them is bubbling up. That bubbling up tells us that we have a leak. Now, how do you know which one is what? So if you actually pay close attention to the lines, they will have color markings on them. Mine are kind of faded, but they should have some color markings on them. So what do you do in this instance? So what I'm going to try and do is actually just tighten it up and see if my my leak will get better. It could be that only that fitting is leaking, and in that instance you can actually just replace the fitting. Sometimes the valve block can leak internally, or you know, we have just that one leak there and it causes both sides in the rear to look low. The rear has only one ride height sensor, which is hooked up to the sway bar, and that could make it look like both the rears are leaking. All right, so I'm gonna try to tighten it up, because sometimes over time they lose that seal. You're supposed to replace them, but I'll see if this helps it for my car. Okay, before I go, I moved those lines out of the way, well, the one that was leaking there, and I think the actual plastic is cracked. So what I'm gonna do is, that thing is leaking more now because I moved it. I'm gonna pay attention to see if my rear is going to drop fast. The way you can check which one drops fast is you put a piece of tape right here. So let's try that. So we'll take a piece of tape like this. You want to cut a piece, or you want to place it right there and hold on, lower this a little bit. So place the tape right here like that, and then tightly pull down and place the other right there. If this tape starts folding and it loses that tension, then you're able to see that it is leaking. You can actually make this longer and put it down here more, and that will be a more accurate representation, but I know that mine is leaking. So we'll come over to this side, and I can already tell how much higher this side is. So I know for a fact that my leak is on this passenger side, and we're already losing some of this tension. Okay, so this is better. We have this, it's not touching the tire. So if this thing starts losing, it's not touching the tire. So if this thing starts losing its tension, meaning if this side keeps dropping lower, then we know that this is the side that is leaking, and it will make it seem like both of them are leaking. Now you don't want this thing to go on forever, because it will make the compressor run longer, and it could burn the compressor out prematurely. They're not, they're very small one piston compressors. They're not made to really, like run continuously like a air compressor that you would use for cars. For example, the shop air compressors, or ones that you use like that. So you can see this thing has lost its tension already, so we can tell this side is leaking. Alright guys, so I removed that line completely because I want to see if I can repair that actually, and I just wanted to show you guys that. So I removed that line. You can see this tire is pretty much all the way to the ground, and if you come over to the other side, this side also looks low. It's not because this side is leaking, it's because the other side is all the way dropped to the ground. It's gonna make it seem like this one is also leaking. So just pay attention to that. It may only be one side that has an issue, and it makes it seem like both sides are having an issue. So I'm going to try to repair that and see if I can or not. I may need a new fitting, but it's a pretty inexpensive repair, this thing. And if you take it to a shop, you'll end up paying a shit ton of money to have this diagnosed and looked at. So this may be something that you can do yourself. Very simple tools: 10mm, 8mm, something to remove the clips, soapy water, another 10mm wrench, and that's it. Like you can get this thing, at least check the basics yourself so you can save some money. So there you have it guys. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you found value in this video, please consider subscribing, leave a like. I will try to make more videos. If you guys have any video ideas that I can try and help you guys with, comment down below. Let me know, and if you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments down below. I'll try to help you out, and that is it. So thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. Peace.